So for the next part of our session, we're going to talk about the art of storytelling. So the art of storytelling, it begins with a concept, and we need to build a connection between the viewer and our work. So I'm going to give you the nuts and bolts of how to create an image, beginning with technique and emotion, and concluding with passion, and we're going to go a little into, oops, there we go. We're going to go a little into post-production. So this is the path that I take. It's not necessarily the right way, but it's my way, and it works really well. But I urge you to find a way that works for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to map this out for left-brainers in the room. So I'm taking a little bit more of an analytical approach that I hope you could apply. And to some of our right-brainers, this may come very naturally. So what do you think of this image? Anyone want to share?
It's fun and loving.
Anybody else?
Shows emotion.
Okay, great. So I'll tell you a little bit about this image. This is a single mom living in New York I've known for many, many years. Her gorgeous son is one of the most lovable boys I've ever met. He does this endearing thing where he strokes her face and goes, "Mama, mama, mama." They have a tough story. She's a single mom, and they were about to move out of the house that he was born in. She was going through a tough divorce, and she really wanted something special for her second birthday. And rather than go out to the park and do something fabulous, I said, let's photograph in your home. Because 10 years ago, when she was in the process of renovating the house, it was really special to her. And the kind of path that life led her down, it was very unexpected. But the home still had a lot of memories, and so I said, let's just capture you being in your home, in your own environment, and really take a special portrait. So I want to talk a little bit about lighting and composition for this image. Now this was lit primarily with window light, but I did add a little video light. I shot this with my Nikon D3S, although now I'm Canon because I switch back and forth terribly. And I use my 24-70. Now with all my portraits, I always begin with finding the best quality of light. So I wasn't sure if I was going to have my camera positioned there or at the foot of the bed. I really needed the best light from the window. And in the end, this was it. So I was really careful with my composition. As you can see, that there's a portrait near the mom's head and there's a light near the son's head. So I had to really move in a way that centered them and there was no obstructions or anything growing out of their head. And now how did I come up with this concept? Because the mother and son, they're a young family going through a lot of challenges. She had once mentioned to me that, ever since the divorce, he had been sneaking into her bed at night. And there was just something about their relationship. And I said, you know what, instead of doing a traditional photo shoot, let's just do something in your bedroom. And she's like, there's no toys in there. I said, no, I just want it to be a moment of the two of you. Because like I said, he always has this thing, he would stroke his mom's face and he'd go, "Mama, mama." So I was hoping he'd do that. Of course, at 2-year-old, you can't really get him to do that. So instead, he was actually begging her not to do that. And he wanted a lollipop. But it was a beautiful portrait anyway, and my client loved it. So this is my new favorite image of the year. So what does this image remind you of? Does anything come to mind? What?
Rubens.
Rubens? Oh, thank you. So my client actually, she wanted to create a scene out of an old Victorian novel, which is her favorite era. So she had gotten some clothes from eBay, and it was 6 weeks in the planning. But I do love to shoot natural light, so this was primarily lit from window light on the side over here. I used my 85 millimeter and 1.4. I think my shutter was at 160, ISO 400. And I positioned my client like this, and I always try to make them as comfortable as possible. I had her cross her feet because it just looked cute. And, I actually center composed this, which is not something I would normally do. I had a few variations of this image, but in the end, this was great. I love the triangles and, just all the little details. It's a simple portrait, but it's one of my favorites. Okay. So let's look at these. Now, does anyone want to share which photo they like more? Okay. So clearly, raccoon eyes on the left. Now, some of my clients and some of my other photographer friends, you know, they will avoid shooting in harsh sunlight at any cost. They will, or they'll shoot in it and not recognize that there's raccoon eyes. So I wanted to do something high fashion, dramatic. This was my bride, actually, she got married about a week ago. And I said, let's shoot you up there. But I just wanted to demonstrate how you could avoid raccoon eyes. And with just a little direction, if you direct your client, lift your chin up, you'll see the photo on the right, just a little subtle movement, and now you had sort of a high fashion, dramatic photo. But you could have easily, because I've seen a lot of photoshopping done, tried to present the one on the left and just Photoshop. I try to get it right in camera, but sometimes it's just little directions that can go a long way. Okay. So here's another lighting technique. Now, when you shoot outdoors, and I see this a lot online on forums, that clients will say, oh, should I use flash fill on the image on the left? And, you know, to me, when you see dappled light, you need to recognize it. You need to try to shoot in open shade. I avoid dappled light at all costs. So sometimes it's, you know, lack of experience or you're not aware, but I think it's important, and this is just a good example of, you know, we're all in the same area. Just, you know, move your client into more even open shade to try to avoid it. Because no photoshopping could really fix the image on the left, but I just wanted to show an example of dappled light, which is kind of all on the bottom there. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit more. So how many people here have studied like art, painting, or gone to school for photography? Okay. So I didn't do any of those things. So I didn't know anything about the Golden Triangle until last year. So I was so excited learning a lot of composition, so I like to share it in my presentations. So, you know, in Renaissance, the Golden Triangle was really popular. And this form of composition, it's a basic triangle that you could see in the image, and it just naturally draws the eye up. Of course, I like to compare that picture to Mona Lisa because I love that picture. Okay, so let's look at technique using the rule of thirds. Actually, you'll see here the photo on the left, center composition did not work. The boy actually looks lost. It looks like someone deserted him in the middle of a pond. But when I plan a portrait, the first thing I do is I look for quality of light. Sometimes my goal is to photograph by a fountain or by a beautiful tree. If the quality of light, if the sun isn't in the right position, I don't have a choice. I have to move. So for me, I used rule of thirds here. You know, I took a few test shots with a lower camera position, higher camera position. I don't always know the final outcome of my pictures. I did initially center him, but then I moved him over to the right. And you'll see here, his name is James. James is actually facing left. The way this is composed, I couldn't have composed it the opposite, because then he would have been falling out of the photo. I had to position him on the right side, the right quadrant of the rule of thirds. And then it wasn't quite right in this frame. I mean, I loved the scene. It was almost right. But I found that when I zoomed out and captured a little bit more of the sky, that was perfect for me. And I actually had a lower camera angle. I don't know how many of you, you know, when you photograph your clients, do you move around a lot, or do you just stay in this perimeter, 180 degrees? Sometimes do 360. You never know where the quality of light is. You know, we get so caught up with directing our client, wanting them to be happy and take some safe shots, but you really should move around. You'll never know unless you really, you know, explore different ideas. And with the digital age, we have the liberty of, you know, moving anywhere and taking a lot of options. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about leading lines. So here's an example about how diagonal leading lines can play a role in a portrait. So again, I actually took a lot of photos here. This is one of my favorite areas in Staten Island to photograph, an area called Snug Harbor. So I walked around here with this couple. I lowered my camera angle. I shot vertically, as you can see, then horizontal. I wasn't exactly sure my composition. But I used the rule of thirds. I compared. I even center focused. And center focus is kind of cool. I think it works in this picture. There's a little triangle there. But I think it's important to change your perspective and take notice of leading lines because I think they really strengthen a photograph. But in the end, for the final picture, I focused and I used the rule of thirds, and I kept it horizontal, although I did really like it vertically. I was kind of torn. But I think it's important to always change your camera position, to walk around your subjects, and try different things, and look back at your work. I know after a shoot, I'll download, I'll pick my favorites, and I don't go back to something for months, if at all. And occasionally I find little gems hidden in drives, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that shoot. So look back at your work and see, because you never know. We look so quickly at our work because we're trying to get through our business that sometimes we cull so fast. But go back and look at your work. It's important. Okay. So here's a little technique that I use called slow dancing. So whether your client is nervous or less familiar with posing, I don't know if you've ever directed a client and you say, okay, move your face a little bit this way, and they go like this, and they go like this, and you're like, okay, no. And when you say no, they feel like they're doing something wrong, and they get discouraged. Sometimes they're embarrassed, or they'll say, I hate getting my picture taken. I try to be as positive as possible when I'm photographing my clients because I want them to enjoy the experience. I want the pictures to be beautiful. I don't want them to be insecure. So I asked my client, Christina, I said, I want you to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like you're slow dancing. And I said it in a low voice. I said, I want you to mirror me, and I want you to count with me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I actually say it 2 or 3 times, and I'll ask her to mirror me in the series of photos, and you'll see that I get all these wonderful angles. Now, she happened to be beautiful, so she looked good at every angle. But most of us in the room know that our clients don't look good at every angle. They look good at maybe 2 angles. Now, I have an oval face, and I have like 3 chins, so I look good at 1 angle. And that's usually this angle, right? Or I look good if you short light me. So if I'm facing this way and the sun is here, I look spectacular. But if you put the sun here, I suddenly look 700 pounds. So I know when I look good, and a lot of it is I look good short lit, and I look good from certain angles. So when you're photographing your client and they have chin problems like I do, or a variety of things, I find that the slow dancing techniques allows you to get every angle without telling them, oh, that worked, or that was good. Because when you say that was good or that's great, they'll think maybe the other one wasn't, and they'll get self-conscious and in their head. And so we want them to have a great experience. So now I want two volunteers to come up, and if you don't volunteer, then I'll just have to pick you. So I need 2 volunteers. Come on. Okay, great. Okay, you 2 come up. Okay. So do either of you shoot Canon by chance?
No. Yes.
Oh, perfect. All right. So let's see. I'm going to move this over. No, you know what? Okay, so you sit here. All right. Here's my camera. So I want you to practice slow dancing, and you have to tell her, and then she has to do it. And then you have to take a great picture, and if it sucks, you have to do it again.
She can't take a bad picture. Okay, so I gotta.
Yeah.
Why didn't I sit down?
You shoot Canon. Everyone else is going to pretend they shoot Nikon today, right? Because I'll get a Nikon camera.
Okay, so I want you to just mirror me. Okay, and just kind of sing in your head 1, 2, 3 like you're slow dancing. So does it matter like what angles or like which way the camera's turned?
Well, you want her to move. So
Right.
here, I'll.
Right.
Yeah. So you shoot however you want.
Yeah, just start over there. Going forward. Well, it's not shooting.
You have to. Do you know the 5D?
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on.
Here. I think you might.
My feet don't touch the floor.
Okay.
You got it?
Hold on. Okay, this will work.
Up there. Okay. So she's got to mirror me, so I'm doing it too.
Well, you tell her once.
Okay.
Teach her the technique.
This is very awkward.
I know. But this is practice. You'll remember it, and then you'll text me.
In front of the two people.
That's good.
Okay, so just in your head, just 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, so now that was awful. That was awful. But it was, I give you an E for effort, so I'm going to try it.
Yes, thank you.
Right? Because I'm an expert. Okay. So now what I do is I try to talk like this. And now I have a nasally voice, which scares most people except children. You're laughing? Okay. So what I like to say to my clients is, okay, I want to take a series of photos of you, and I want you to mirror me. But I want you in your head to chant like you're slow dancing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Come back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Great. Awesome. Okay, so stay there. Now we need one more person to try this. You can raise your hand and be picked on. All right, let's have you come up. It's great. We want to be involved, keep everyone awake. It's like 9 a.m. and in my country, that's like 6 a.m. I woke up today, it was like 7:30, and I was so tired. But I'm like, well, really, that's 8:30. I shouldn't be tired. Here you go. You could just, so now you have to direct her and do a bad job the first time.
I did. Okay, I'm good at that.
It's good, because imagine this is your client.
Do it.
But imagine it, you know, it's your client. And she's going to spend $4,000 with you. Think about that. Focus on that. She's going to buy all of them. She did a bad job. That's okay. No, that's okay. So the thing about it, obviously I'm putting people on the spot, so I apologize, I really do. No, I don't. But anyway, you have to say, when you slow dance, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And now, if you know me, I'm a terrible dancer, but this is the best I can do. It's important you say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It actually makes, if you dip your head and you say it slow and soft, they'll copy you. And chances are, if you're someone that's doesn't look beautiful from every angle, you're going to have 2 or 3 in there that look great. It's not like one of those, okay, look, bring your head here, click. Okay, bring your head here, click. And you know, like with your voice, it's very hard to, you're like saying bring your head here, but you know you're hesitating because you know you didn't like that prior photo. So we're avoiding that. So thank you for volunteering. Okay. Okay. Okay, you're gonna be my next model. Okay, great.
Why don't you give them something for helping out?
Oh yeah, okay. All right, so my wonderful volunteers that didn't volunteer, as a thank you, our lovely friends of Black River Imaging are giving you a $10 million gift certificate. Here's a $10 million gift certificate. In my country, that's what that means. Okay. All right, so, all right, Rod, I'm going to want you to model for me. Because you're so handsome, but it's not my fault she picked you. Okay, so Rod, before you come up, I want to tell you, I'm going to take a spectacular photo of you right now. Okay. Really incredible. Okay, so I just want you to sit on this chair for me, right here. Mm-hmm. All right, so now that's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, that's not bad. So stay there. All right, it's not bad. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about this next example, and then. Okay, so this is a posing technique that I like to use a lot. It's called sitting cool. He happened to sit kind of cool. I wish I would have picked someone lame. Well, that doesn't look good. But you know. Okay. So have you ever had your client, you say, okay, I'm going to photograph you, come sit over there, and they sit down or they lean, and they look a little bit retarded, they look terrible. And you know that they would normally not sit that way. Now him, I don't know. She must have prepped him that I was going to do this. But he sat kind of cool. Like, I don't know. I'll try to, you know, he did a good job. What can I say? So what I like to do if a client sits uncool, can you sit uncool for a minute? All right, he looks like he's on the toilet. No. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just messing with you. Sit back like that, that's good. Focus, no. Okay, so what I would do in the event that someone sat and looked uncool, which is hard for him. See how it's challenging for him to look uncool. He just is naturally cool. It's the glasses on the head. So what I would do is I would walk them through a scenario. So I would say to Rod, if he looked uncool, I'd say, okay, stand back up, right? So you stand back up. Okay, before you sit down, I want to imagine, forgive me, his wife is in the office, that you're, in Vegas and we're at the Bellagio and you're at the pool. And I want you to sit over there, but you're going to be walking and sitting where there are 3 really gorgeous models. I just want you to sit there and be cool. So I just want you to sit there and be cool right now. And you're going to be next to 3 famous models. So don't move. Thank you, thank you. So he did a good job, right? I mean, unfair advantage. Everyone in this room is handsome, so it's not going to be easy to make people look less cool. But I find that this is a great technique to making people look good, feel good. At a photo shoot, it's a lot of pressure. Sometimes even if they think that people are photogenic, all of a sudden they get camera shy, they get tense, and they clench up your hands. So even for women, you want to tell women, a story that makes sense. You can't say something to someone who's in their 80s. Okay, imagine you're going to sit next to all these hot babes, and they'd be like, maybe it would work, I don't know. But you have to say something that's authentic. But I find that it really gets good emotion, and it gets them feeling good inside. And they almost they almost have game, it's cool. Okay. All right, so we'll switch gears a little bit, and we'll talk about emotion. So we're moving from technique to evoking emotion. So to tell you a little bit about my client, her name is Elisa. I got to know her. I've actually known her for a few years. I photographed her wedding. And so the birth of her son was one of the most exciting times of her life. And unlike most of us moms, she had a great delivery, and the kids slept for 12 hours on the 3rd night. So she just had this dream baby. We want to take beautiful portraits of our clients that evoke emotion from anyone beyond the family, that anyone in this room would love this picture. So how do you do it? You don't just say, oh, hold your baby, tell the baby you love him. I actually try to walk my client down memory lane. So I'll position them. I don't photograph right away. I always pretend that I'm fiddling with my camera. So in this particular shot, I said to Elisa, I said, how old is Destin? And she said he's 4 months old. And I said, gosh, that went fast. Do you remember the moment he was born? Do you remember when you first held him? And I just talked to her, and I did this little gesture. And at that time, she was holding him, but she looked up at me, said, oh, yes. And then she held him a little bit closer. And I took 3 shots, and this is one of them. But you want to walk them down memory lane. You want them to feel something. It has to be authentic. And what we do in our studios, we do spend a lot of time getting to know our clients. And it's not always easy. Sometimes it is, but it's not always easy. But I find that for us, the more that you know about your clients, you're really able to evoke authentic emotion. You're able to bring them down memory lane, and you'll be able to capture these beautiful portraits that not only will they enjoy, but people like you will enjoy. Now, before I go to the next slide, can anyone think of any good questions to ask your clients to evoke authentic emotion? Let's say for family portraits. Does anyone use techniques like this? Anybody? How about for weddings? When you're posing a wedding client, or you just take pictures and don't talk to them at all?
When was the moment you knew that was the one for you, and then you get it?
Okay. And what about you?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah? Yeah? Go ahead.
I have to tell stories.
Like what?
Stories of meeting each other, stories, funny stories, embarrassing moments, because when they relive the memories,
Okay.
it makes them laugh.
Yeah, that's great. Am I at a break time, or? Oh, okay. Just checking. Okay. So for my family portraits, I will do my best to get to know my clients. I will ask what the kids are up to. I take notes because I have a 5-second memory. Like, I'll walk out of this room and forget I had to go pee. And I go, and I come back and I start sitting there. So I have a bad memory. I write everything down. That was too much information, sorry. So for instance, one of my clients a few weeks ago, I was talking to them on the phone. I said, you know, what's going on? How's your son? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, he made brown belt in karate. And so I ask questions. I ask open-ended questions. I try never to make it an interview. And when it's possible, I'll share a little bit about my family. I'll talk about the latest thing my daughter did wrong, or something, you know, or something that my other daughter did wrong. So it's just, you know, I try to build an authentic relationship with them. And so they tell me things. I get to pull information out of them. Highlights of the year, or what they've done in school, any achievements. And then on the day of the shoot, on the family portrait, I will speak to them about that. I'll remind them. I'll say, oh my God, I heard you got brown belt. And the kid will cheer up. And so I want to stay in contact with my clients for weeks. And when we plan the portrait session, I use a lot of those tools and bits of information to get authentic, you know, authentic emotion from them. I think it's important. Does anyone here have children? Anybody? Everybody? Okay, great. Do you like them? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, it's hard. Now, of those who have children, do you have pictures with your children when they were newborns? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, more than I thought. That's good. You do?
I have crappy.
Okay, well, crappy pictures count. They count. But you know, for those who don't have pictures with your children, why not? You know, I feel like more than half of the friends I know that are photographers, they don't have photographs of themselves. They don't have photographs of their family. You know, we're in the business. Barter with another photographer. You know, who doesn't want family photos? And if you don't want family photos, then why are you doing this? Because you need to want your own, you know, you want to represent and have portraits of your family and showcase them and put them proudly on Facebook. You want to remind your clients that it's important to you too and to your family. So I think it's important to stay current. So this is a new family I photographed about a year ago. And to evoke emotion, it was a little difficult with him. He was a little bit standoffish. So I sat them on the bench. It was beautiful light. And so I asked, the baby's name was Lily. I asked Lily's dad. I whispered to him, who does she look like? Because he was like over there like this, sitting like uncool. He was like sitting facing the other way. And I'm like, your kid's over here. So I said to him, you know, who does Lily look like? And then the mother answered, I think a little bit like my sister. And I'm like, what do you think? And he said, Russ, what do you think? And so he leans over and he starts saying something. But he connected and he looked. And so there's little tools you can do to get people engaged. You know, we know at photo shoots sometimes dad was forced to be there. How do you handle if dad's forced to be there? You know, you either bring a case of beer or 2 cases of beer, you know. But you try, you know. So this is one of the big things that I do. And I always ask personal questions. And I find that I personally shoot with emotion to get emotion. I'm an emotional person. And I find that, you know, selling is an emotional experience. So when you sell with emotion, you shoot with emotion, everything together, overall you'll get bigger sales. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay, so what do you guys think about these pictures? Does anyone want to have an opinion? Okay, good. So now, I mean, the picture on the left isn't bad. It's not a bad picture, you know, but they just posed themselves like this, the groom, hands in the pocket, looked cool. You know, made their gallery. I didn't cut it out of the images. But obviously the one on the right, more emotion. As I said, she stood there and she looked like, okay. I'm like, come on, I know you love him. And I was like, and I said, do this, you know. You need to direct your clients. So many times, and today we're trying to get through the wedding day and we're working really hard and really fast. And I think it's important that you ensure that you stop and look at hands and feet, look at body language. You know, you want to make sure the energy is flowing between them. So let's see. I need 2 more volunteers. You a volunteer? Ooh, yay. Do you know how to do a cartwheel?
No.
I'm just kidding. Okay, and I need 1 more volunteer. Teresa? Okay, so here, let me just, I'm going to move this over a little bit. We're gonna do cartwheels.
All right, in this skirt.
No, it would look good, trust me.
I might be able to get down on the ground and roll.
Okay, that's great. All right, so you guys want to take your picture.
The two of us.
So we'll have you sit. Okay, so, okay, great. So now, this is an awful picture. She's far away, she doesn't really know her. So I want you to pretend like that this is your best friend from 4th grade. Look how much better that looks, see? I mean, I didn't have to say much more than that. I sometimes say that to husband and wife. I say, pretend like you love her. And I swear it works every time. Because it makes them laugh at me. I don't care why you're laughing, I just need you to smile. So, okay, now let's have someone else direct this. Anybody? You want to do it? That was a yes? No. You can't say no. All right, fine. All right, here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so direct them and switch up the position a little. Yeah, but switch up the pose a little bit if you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just about emotion.
How about y'all stand up?
Okay.
And does it have to be like
Take an awful photo first.
an awful photo?
Okay.
Can I put y'all's backs together?
And they look fat, right?
And maybe blind y'all step.
Go like this too.
They look very feminine.
You get your arms crossed?
I do.
Wait a second.
Okay, lean that way. Me? I want to see your neck.
Oh, no. This is a what not to do. And some people, you know.
That was bad.
Okay. All right, so let's do a good one. Let's show emotion, that they know each other, they love each other. What would you say to them?
I try to do it if it's a couple, maybe whispering something in her ear.
Okay, so that's inappropriate here, but go ahead. We can try that.
Whisper something in her ear.
I was kidding. Oh my God. Yeah, try that one more time.
What's my thing?
Now reverse the whispering. Go for it. Whisper and hurrier.
Oh.
Yeah. So if this was a couple, it might work. But she's 0 for 2 here.
Yes, we are. How do you know we're doing? You know?
You know what? They are cute. They are very cute together. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was awesome. That was terrible. I mean, that was awesome. Oh, man. Okay, thank you. Okay. Look at this, see? Look at this. Thank you. So this is $1 million gift card. Okay, so. All right, so here's another one. Again, let's look at this image, and let's look closely. Can someone point out some things they don't like about it? And you could be rude, I don't care. You'll still get it. Tell me a little bit.
I don't like the bride's arm down on the first one.
You see that? She looks very disconnected. Anything else? You could totally tear it apart, it's all good. Okay. Anything else? How about the one on the right? What do you think? It's slightly better, but it's just, come on.
I still would like to see him touching her.
Yeah, that.
Something about the light that work. It's like maybe it's how I'm saying.
No, it's a little tilted compared to the tree.
No, it's your head is crooked.
Well, okay, hold on.
Anybody else?
It's washed out, there's no focal point to it.
Yeah. It's not edited, but thank you. Just kidding. Pardon me?
When I first looked at it, I looked at the bench first.
Yes, good. That was good. I'm glad you said that. Okay, so here's the final picture. Now, sir, back there, you're amazing. I took out the bouquet because I felt like the bouquet was competing. I did consider taking out the bench, but
Wasn't there something in the background behind them? No, it was umbrellas.
yeah. No. Yeah, so you'll see here, this is better. So this is in their album. They look a little bit more connected. They wanted a pose like this. They said, oh, we want that pose where we do the head thing. But they weren't married in a church, and it was an outdoor ceremony. So I was like, okay, where are we going to do that doesn't look really contrived? So we did the least contrived version that we could. But their arms, they were connected. You'll notice that the bride here was not flat-footed. She had her knee bent. So she was very engaged in the most contrived, engaged way that you could possibly be engaged. So I use I dodge and burn. I have like a layer mask. I probably used an action. And I have like a little vignetting border as well. And I always use high pass, so I sharpen a lot. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about personal projects. Now, for those of us in the room that are a little bit more left brain, you want to really change your work. You want to possibly shoot in a more storytelling fashion. How do you get into it? I find that an analytical approach, like real instructions, a spreadsheet, that usually appeals to people. But try to look at take a different way of thinking. Are there any areas of your business you'd like to improve? Or do you have any family events or the challenges in families that you know that you can photograph, maybe do a documentary on? Try to find a personal project and shoot for you. We're so busy working on our businesses that, it becomes a real job, photography. But wouldn't it be great if it was just a passion and a love, and we just got paid a lot of money for it? So how do you find personal projects? And there are so many benefits to personal projects that could really help grow your art. They could infuse you, re-inspire you, and help fuel your passion. So I was working on a project most of the fall with a few families in the local New York metro area. One of the families had 3 boys, and the oldest son was autistic. And when they had their second son, they found out when he was 2.5 that he was also autistic, but severely autistic. And I remember when she was pregnant with her third, that she was in a way hoping it was a girl because she felt like there were greater chances of autism. When he was born, fortunately, he was great. He was healthy, and they call him the big little brother because he helps with the older 2. He does the lunch boxes, he gets clothes and the shoes. And so what I did as a personal project is I just looked across family stories because there are a lot of triumphs and challenges that we face all the time. So how do you find your own personal story? It has to be something that you connect with, something that makes sense for you, but I really find that could really fuel your passion, really help reshape your business, and get you reconnected to your art. This, of course, is our livelihood, but it could be so much more if we make a little time for it.